I'm Megan. Thank you for joining me for a combination of somatic yoga and yin yoga. Today's practice is going to be more of a physical practice for the lungs versus the big L lungs that we talk about typically in yin is the lung meridian, which starts all the way down in the abdomen, goes through the diaphragm, which is the engine of our breathing, that dome-shaped muscle at the bottom of the ribs, up through the lungs themselves and into the neck, and then goes down through the arms, ending at the thumbs. So in a yin practice, when we want to stimulate the lung meridian, arms are often overhead, and we will do some of that. But what I'm looking to do is more stimulate the muscles of respiration themselves. So you'll need a strap today, and we'll start in a seated position. If it's comfortable, you can do this in a chair. And just take a little bit of movement around so we can settle into the base of our spine and our legs. And just notice how you're breathing. How you're breathing naturally. What is moving? Is it your belly? Can you feel movement above or below the diaphragm? So your lungs, I always think this is amazing. They're the size, basically, of 2 loaves of bread, with the left one being a little bit smaller because the heart is there. And we take over 20,000 breaths a day, but very little of that air coming in is actually used, just the oxygen. And there are so many ways that our lungs work involuntarily for us, right? If we yawn, I'm going to make you all yawn at home. A yawn is a way to bring more oxygen in. So we automatically do that. If you cough, it's a force of air out of the lungs. The other thing is a sneeze, right? The force of a sneeze. And the lungs will create that inner abdominal pressure to force something out of your nose. So our lungs are so clever when they're left to their own accord. But the other side is sometimes we're only using 20% of our breath capability. So the muscles, the musculature, which is like the muscles between your ribs, your intercostal muscles, very important, even some of the back muscles, they get really tight and they can't do their job. Just like if our hamstrings were tight and pulling on our low back. If your muscles are limited in motion, your lungs can't fully expand. So that's what this class is about, is addressing full, healthy lung capacity, or increasing that capacity. So we're going to start with the strap. Take that strap near you, and before you put the strap on, just take your hands to your thumb and index finger to your lower ribs, relax your arms, and notice if you can get any movement through your rib cage, through the cylinder of the center of your body. So some people are really just belly breathers. We're always breathing to the belly. And some people are upper chest breathers. So what we want to see is if we can get some movement through the lower lobes of the lungs, which then means we're going to be moving the middle and upper lobes. So holding your hands there, just see what's happening naturally. If there's anything, if you're straining to do this, then just go a little bit slower and gently press your ribs into your hands. And then if you have the strap, we're going to take the strap. So this is a somatic breathing technique that I do actually every morning without the strap to wake up my lungs. If you learn it with the strap, you can do it without the strap, but I'll have you put the strap on, and it's on my rib cage, not all the way down on my floating ribs, but right underneath my chest and tight enough that I can feel it. So now you can relax your arms. And imagine that as you breathe in, you're trying to burst that strap all the way around at 360 degrees. As you breathe out, just let that pressure go, let that compression go. And you may have to adjust the buckle if it's too tight and you don't have room to move, or it's too loose and you can't feel the compressive forces as you breathe into it. But then we're going to go around. I take quadrants. I divide the body into 4s. And I want you to bring all your awareness into just the left front side. So everything from the center of the navel, or your sternal notch, over to the sides of the ribs and breathe into just the left front. See what that feels like. And if you can't purposely breathe into the left front of the strap area, then just notice if that part's moving. Left front. Breathing in and then letting it go. So just sort of an experiment here, a little assessment for yourself. Left front side, what's happening? And then switch your awareness into the right front quadrant of the lungs. So think whole front side from the center of the navel out to the side body. You can feel that strap and see if you can somatically, so feeling based, the felt sense, feel yourself breathe into the right front side of the lung. Press into the strap as you breathe in and release that pressure as you breathe out. Nothing too forced, just enough to feel. All right, if you're feeling it, you're doing it. And then we're going to go into the back side, which sometimes that's more of the shadow side for us. We don't feel it, we don't get to see it. But visualize in your mind's eye your back right side and feel where that strap is. And notice if there's any natural movement in the back right quadrant of your lungs. And is it just down by the strap, or can you feel it all the way up through the shoulder blade? And if you can do this without the strap, go ahead and do it, but I find the strap just gives us a little something more tactile to begin with. And just feeling any motion through that right back side. And then lastly, we'll go to the left back side. Breathing in and out of the left back side. And is there a lifting up of the rib cage? Is there an outward movement? So these are all just things we're noting. Maybe it's harder to move one side than the other. Or perhaps the back side is less available to us. Very common. And now we'll feel the entire left side. So if it was just your left lung, so you can feel the strap in the front and the back and the side, and see if you can direct all of your breath or just your awareness into the left lung. And can you physically feel a difference or just mentally see it? Left lung expanding outward and maybe slightly upward as you breathe in. Coming inward and downward as you breathe out. And then switch and go into just your right side. Not to say your left side won't move, especially now because it's happy and free. We woke it up. But see if you can focus on bursting the strap through your whole left side, everything from the navel center out to the side body and the center of the spine on that right side. Take your time. If at any time you feel uncomfortable or anxious, stop, go back to your natural breath. This is a somatic exploration of breath. And now feel the entire strap all the way around the body. Breathe in, breathe out, as if you're gently bursting that strap all the way around 360 degrees. And now you might have a little more sense of feeling. Do you feel more movement in the front where the strap is, or do you feel more movement in the back? Do you sense that there's more availability of space through the left side or the right side? Take one more breath with the strap. And then we'll take the strap off. You can even just drop it to your waist if you want for now, because we want to still have that feeling sensation of where it was. Now breathe fully. Think of a big balloon. As you breathe in, feel the expansion all the way in 360 degrees around the cylinder. Remember where that strap was and breathe out, let it go. Recognize what's happening is as you're breathing in, your diaphragm, that beautiful dome-shaped muscle, is actually contracting, pressing down. So that allows the lungs to fill. It compresses the belly so the belly sticks out. As you breathe out, the diaphragm relaxes. It comes back up and in as the lungs empty. And just feeling that interplay of diaphragm and lungs. As we're breathing this way, the pericardium, the sac around the heart is being massaged and moved. We have to remember that all of these different organs in our body are connected, fluidly connected through the fascial tissue, all of the connective tissue. So when we move something, everything else around it moves. Take your last 3 breaths and see if you can remember some of this for our practice, because now our next job is, through movement and through holding of postures, to create more sense of awareness and space in the lungs. So if you have a goal today, that's it. The other thing I might mention is the lungs are where we hold sorrow and grief in the subtle body. So we'll notice, when we feel sad or are having difficulty, we close off. We tend to not breathe as deep, right? We close the front body down. We sigh, right? We're trying to get it out. So hopefully this practice will allow you to release any sadness or grief. And if you want to put that in as part of your intention for the practice, please do. All right, so you can remove the belt. And we're going to come down onto our side, or onto our back side first. Relax onto your back. And now the lovely thing is you can locate your backside from the ground. And I like to have my knees bent. It's just more comfortable for my low back. If you'd like to extend your legs for now, you can. But we're just locating, feeling your backside on the ground. And there might be more of an opportunity to breathe into your backside because you can feel the ground. But we're going to create some movement patterns through the somatics to help to create more space through the lungs. So your knees are going to be bent for the movement. You're going to place your feet on the floor so that your toes are pointing forward and your heels are slightly wider than your hips. We'll start with just the left leg. As you breathe in, feel the big toe side of your left foot and tip onto the big toe side, drawing the left thigh, the femur towards the center of your mat and the left kneecap towards the front right corner. So internally bringing that thigh towards the center of the mat, and then as you exhale, just come back up, flat foot. So just that left leg. We're going to start by moving the hip and the lower half of the body. Inhale, reach the leg forward. You might start to feel that stretching through the right hip and waist, left hip and waist, and then come back. And obviously, we don't have lungs down in our hips, but surprisingly enough, if we have tight muscles even through the torso and the lower half, that can affect our respiration. Inhale, feel that little stretch and arch through your left side, and exhale, relax. Let's do 1 or 2 more with just the leg. It should feel nice anyhow for your hips, your thighs. Inhaling forward and inward, and I'm trying not to lift my heel up. I'm rolling onto the big toe side and exhaling back. Now let's add the arm onto this to get more space through the upper body. So I'm not going to lift my arm. I'm going to keep the weight of the arm resting on the ground. Locate that arm on the ground, and then as I inhale, I'm going to bring the leg in and reach or slide the left arm overhead. So now, creating more space through that left side, lengthening the left side even more, and exhaling down. The other thing you might notice is I'm not letting my right leg fall. I'm keeping my right leg where it is. If I let my right leg fall, then my whole pelvis is rotating, and I actually don't get as much stretch through my side body. If I keep my right knee up, there is a forward motion of the hip as opposed to a rotation, and I'm lengthening, and that's really what we want to do. So right kneecap up towards the sky, reach through that left arm, create that long line from the hip to the armpit, and exhale, come back. The other thing you can do, just because it's usually feel good, is let your head roll towards your left shoulder as you reach the arm and leg in opposite directions. And exhale back. Just creating space, putting tension on these respiratory muscles in between the ribs, through the back there. There's another muscle really important in respiration, the serratus anterior, through here, and that can be tight. So we're just stretching through it on inhale and exhaling and releasing. Let's do one or two more on this left side. Creating space through this mindful, slow movement pattern. And then we'll come back down. All right, I'm going to switch sides. I'll turn so you can see me. You can stay right where you are. So we'll be working with the right leg now. And maybe pause just for a moment and see if already can you feel any difference through the sides of your body. If you breathe into the cylinder of your lungs, does it feel different left to right? And then feel yourself from your right hip through your knee and your knee to your foot. Feel the big toe side of the right foot as you breathe in, tip onto the big toe side. Draw that right thigh bone forward and inward. So stretching the hip first and exhaling and coming back. And again, I'm not dropping both legs. It's not a rotation of the pelvis. There's an arch in the pelvis and a lengthening. So I'm keeping the left knee up towards the sky and exhaling back. And the reason why I had you take your feet wider than your hips is because if your feet are together, you're going to crash into that left leg. It'll limit how far you can go. So keep your feet wide enough that you're not crashing one leg into the other. Just the leg first. Lengthening through your waist and your low back, your outer hip, inhaling into it if you want to do it to your breath. And it's good to do it to your breath because eventually I'm going to have you use the posture as the container to create more space to breathe more freely into your lungs. And then we might be ready to add the arm on. So feeling your right arm, I'm not going to lift it or strain it. In fact, really what I'm trying to do is stretch the side of the body, not the arm. So you're going to bring the leg forward and inward and slide the arm. Think of moving the armpit back too. And exhaling back down. So I sometimes have discomfort in my right shoulder, goes way back. So what I find is if I'm trying to force my arm overhead, first of all, I'm not really feeling stretched through the side body, but I'm straining my shoulder. So what I try to do is imagine that I'm bringing my right arm overhead from my armpit and my side waist. That creates more space. And exhaling back. If you want to add the head to this, you can let your head roll towards that right shoulder as you create that long line through your right side. Exhaling back. So it may seem really silly to be working on your lungs by moving your arms and your legs, but feel the space you're creating through your torso. That's where your lungs are. But you're also taking the hip forward and the shoulder back. So armpit and hip are having a little argument, going away from one another as you breathe in, coming back to their space of relaxation as you breathe out. One or two more on this right side. And then pause. So we're going to do that same movement. You're already set up for it, but we're going to alternate sides. And depending on what you were able to feel when we were doing the breathing with the strap, I'm going to guide you into breathing into one lung and the other as well. But we'll start with just the physical movement, and if that's all that's working for you today, know that that's wonderful. So starting with my left side, I'm going to inhale onto the big toe side of the left foot, slide my left arm up overhead, feel that lengthening, and exhale, come down. Or let the arm slide down, come flat-footed. Inhale, right arm. Watch again that we're not rotating the pelvis, the opposite knee is just pointing upward. Exhaling down. So do a couple just in body first, except that you're breathing in as you're reaching and lengthening, breathing out, relaxing. And then even if it's just more on the pranic level, not the physical breath, but your awareness, your taking your awareness into one lung or the other, let's try to do that. So whichever side, let's start with the right side. As you're breathing in and taking the right leg inward and the right arm overhead, see if you can direct your awareness and or your breath into your right lung. Sometimes I'll even place my opposite hand there. And then exhale. Let go. And then left leg inward. Breathe into the left lung as the left arm goes overhead. And even if you can't feel a difference in your breathing, it's about your conscious awareness. Fill the ribs up. Spread them apart, not only with posture, but with breath. And then exhale. Let go. It's like you can feel your rib cage lift, and it's lifting because of the movement of your arms and legs, but that rib cage is also lifting because of your breath. It's buoyant. It's expanding. The lungs are also the only part of our body that is floaty. Literally, they would float in water. They're very buoyant. So let them float up. I'll do one or two more here. And then we're going to stop and hold just for a few breaths. We'll do the right side first since I'm on that side. And you're going to let your right leg fall in. What might be comfortable is let your left leg fall towards your right to hold it up. Right arm overhead. And see if in stillness we can just direct a little bit of breath into that right side. No straining. So if you're reaching through that arm, let it fall back down. So we already noticed that there's more tension or space through the right side, maybe slight compression in the left side, but we're going to build on that even more because we're going to come into a pose called Banana Asana. So you're going to take your legs long, at least the right one to start, and slide the right leg over to the left side of the mat. So I'm just increasing that curve through my right side. Then I can also pick up my right shoulder, not so much strain with the arm, but pick up my right shoulder blade and walk it over to the left side of the mat. So now I'm really feeling that lengthening, the tension through the right side. My left knee can stay up towards the sky if that's comfortable. It could cross on top of my right leg to pin my right hip down, or underneath my right leg. Or my favorite way to do the left leg is I let it drop open, knee bent. So if I were going the opposite way, the left leg would be like this. But we're going to be here for about 3 minutes, breathing into the side. So if you have blocks, I got to grab mine with my toes, and you want to put some sort of block underneath that left leg, you're welcome to do that. Or like I said, you can keep them both long. So here we are in the posture. So the posture is only half of the equation. And the posture is the equation that we can begin to release and relax into. So ground yourself again, land, locate on the ground, all of your bones, let the muscles relax. I like to hold my right wrist with my left hand, but you don't have to do that. In fact, if there's any discomfort in the shoulder or the arm, all you wanted to do was create the space through the right side, and you could even take your right arm more into like a T position or an L position, let it relax. So create the container, that safe container, relax into the container. And then see if you can direct your awareness and your breath into your right lung. Breathing into the right lung. Slow and easeful. Maybe feel that sense of the ribs spreading apart, expanding upward and outward as you breathe in. And then inward and downward as you breathe out. And when we breathe into the chest cavity like this, we're not holding back from letting the belly move. Allow the abdomen to move because it will. So we don't restrict that in any way. But you're really sensing the control that you have to send all of your breath into your right lung. And notice that spaciousness. Like I said, we'll be here for a few more minutes. Generally in the yin posture, we try to remain still. If you find that you can deepen the posture, if your body invites you to go further, you can do that, or it might be that you need to back out. And you'll know, because if at this point you can't just focus on the breath going in and out, then you're probably too far into the posture. But another thing I like to do, in case you're thinking, I'm not sure that I can feel a difference through my left and my right, what is this container we've created for breathing, is bring your awareness into your left side. Do your best to breathe in and out of your left lung. And notice what that feels like. Are you sensing the restriction through the left side? There's that compression through the left side that is not going to allow that full volume breath to happen in the left lung. Now go back to the right side and see if it's more easeful than trying to breathe into the left. And even though we can't physically breathe into these places, I like to visualize the space all the way from my armpit to my hip, that whole frontal area of my body. You can even touch it, right? If you can touch it, you can see it sometimes. Use your hand as a guide for your nervous system. And as I breathe out, it may be that the right rib cage is lifting off the ground a little bit, the right hip, even the right shoulder blade. So every breath out, let that right backside release into the ground. So we expand with the inhalation, feeling that upward and outward movement, but we also create space on the exhalation by allowing the backside of the body to just land. That creates space as well. And I'm going to ask you to just take these last 10 to 20 breaths in silence and keep your awareness in your right lung. When you feel ready to leave the posture, you can start from your arms or your legs, but maybe just move one limb at a time, sliding out. Take your time coming out of the in posture. That's part of the posture, part of the experience. You can bend your knees to walk your legs back to the center. We're going to do a second posture breathing into the right side. So we're going to focus all of our awareness on the right side, and then we'll switch. But for my sake, or your sake, so you can see me, I'm going to switch sides. You can stay right on your back there and be still. Notice the right and left. Keep a block handy if you have them. If not, that's okay. We're going to come down onto the left side of the body. So roll yourself over if you need to. You can use your left arm as a pillow, or if you want to bring a block or something else in for your head, please feel free to do that. And then I'm just going to allow my knees to stack, relax. And the first thing I want to do again is land. Just feel the left side now and the way it's resting on the ground. Feel the compression of the ribs pressing into the ground. But we'll be focusing on the right side. And this is a somatic movement to help create space again through the right side. You're going to take your right hand down to your side so that the palm is facing your hip. We're going to take a breath in, and we're going to reach the right arm overhead. But as we reach the arm,
think of lifting the right ribs up towards the sky, or even the bottom left ribs off the floor. So you're going to reach and lift. Create that arch we were just in. And then exhale, arm back down. Let the left ribs relax into the ground. Let them land. Inhale, reach with the arm. Lift the upper right ribs and the bottom left ribs. Exhale. Land. So if you ever ask yourself, well, how far should I go? Do you go to your end point every time? In somatic movement, I think it's important to vary that. So I might go all the way to my end range of motion one time, and then breathe into that spaciousness through the right side. But then the next time, I might only go part way. And maybe my physical body doesn't lift as high, I don't strain as high to lift, but can I finish off that expansiveness just with my breath? Can I create the expansion through the breath instead of the body, in other words? What combination of movement of the body and breathing into the right lung is just right for you to create space without strain? Some people like to add the leg into this one, so if your legs want to do a little dance, you can do that too. So as I reach my arm, I could also reach my right leg. But watch that if you're reaching your leg, you're still lifting. Sometimes it's harder to lift your waist, but you can do that. Reach and lift. Inhaling into that right side body. Exhale, fall. See if you can make it less forceful even, and just float the right rib cage up towards the sky. So now it's a gravitational thing. We have to work a little bit harder. That left side has to contract, right? Left ribs are contracting as right ribs are stretching because they're lifting away from gravity and exhaling back down. We'll just do a couple more on this side. And back down. So when we go to do our hold on this side, you can use a block, a blanket, whatever you've got there, a pillow. But I'm going to use a block. I actually like the firmness of the foams. For some people, it's a little too in your face. But we're going to take something and we're going to put it underneath that left rib cage. So not way down by your waist and not all the way in your armpit, but right below your armpit on the sides of the ribs, about where the strap was. And if you want something to support your head, please do that. You can bring a second block in or a bolster, anything like that. But I'm going to create that little side body. I'm a little too high up. That side body bend. There we go. And then you can keep your right arm at your side or take it over. So again, the block is pretty dense. So if that's not working for you, I'll just show you sometimes, or it might be too high. You can fold a blanket so that it is this width. There's so many things. You can take a cushion off your couch or a pillow, but put it right there just so you're creating that little side stretch, and then right arm overhead. I like to keep the knees stacked. Some people like to stretch the legs out to feel more hip stretch, so going into the hip joint itself, you can do that too. But for focus of breathing, I'm going to let my legs relax. I'm breathing in and out of the right lung. Do a little combo package here. Some padding on the block, but the block there so I'm nice and high. And just sort of drape yourself over whatever's underneath you. And we'll be here again for we'll hold this one for about 2.5 minutes. So if there's straining in the shoulder, the arm can be at your side. You're still going to feel the space through the side. Another thing that sometimes works is a block between the hands will support the right arm more, so there's no discomfort in the arm. All we're doing, again, is creating a container so that you can get a nice full breath in to that right side. So usually the breath itself into the right lung will stretch those muscles, as you breathe in, but we're starting with them already spacious and just breathing in and out. And you can visualize again the space all the way from the hip to the armpit, as if your right ribs are lifting up towards the sky every breath in, releasing down every breath out. Notice the compression through the left side. So yin works through both tension and compression. So get the compression going on in the left side and the tension on the right side. But you've landed. You can feel yourself through your bones. All of the muscles are relaxed, supported fully by the floor and whatever prop you chose to put underneath your left side. And I'm going to invite you into that quiet space again, whether you want to see it as your right rib cage or your lung. I'll even bring myself into my organs, and it's an opportunity to say thank you to your liver and your right side. Know that it's normal for the mind to wander off. That's okay. Bring it back. Just visualizing the right side. Notice any movement in the right side that's taking place just from your breath. Not because you're taking your arms and legs anywhere, but just because you're breathing. Take our last few breaths. Again, when you go to come out, do one limb at a time. So I typically like to bring my arms down first. If your legs are extended, you can stack your knees together and use that bottom left arm. It should be strong just to lift up. Remove that compressive whatever it is you used, and you can come down and just rest. I like to do a little back and forth undulation for my spine after that. We're going to be going on to our backside again, so that's another option. You can go onto your backside and do any movement, or just be still. And from your backside, I'm going to encourage you, because we just did 2 yin postures on the right side that we didn't do on the left, to find a space where your body feels symmetrical, right? So your legs and your arms are about the same. Let yourself locate and land the ground underneath you. And then take some full body breaths into the cylinder of your rib cage and your lungs. And notice your breathing from your felt sense. So do you feel any difference between breathing into your right side and your left side now? Is there more of a sense of freedom or spaciousness in the right side that's not there in the left? Or does the right side feel lighter or heavier than the left, vice versa? Does one side feel more floaty? Just notice. And sometimes those differences are very apparent. Other times not so much. That's okay too. But it's just that you're giving yourself and your nervous system the time to acclimate, to take any changes that might have been present and sort of write them down in the brain. We remap the body. And you're remapping your breath into that right lung. Last few breaths, just being in this quiet space of center. And then we're going to do all that for our lovely left lung.
So we start by coming back into constructive rest. Slide your feet so that your heels are about underneath your knees, and then widen your feet a little bit. And we'll do a couple in movement first. Again, the somatic movement we did, if we go back to remembering that. So we were letting the left leg drop in and the left arm slide overhead on an inhalation. There's that spaciousness. And exhale, come back down. And then the right side, right leg in, slides overhead. And exhaling. And maybe in this movement, you can feel a difference. And it might just be in the muscles, it might not be in the lung capacity itself. It might just be that a hip is more willing to stretch out, or your armpit feels more spacious. Just noticing. And you can let your head turn towards that top shoulder if you'd like. Let's do one more to each side. And then we'll be stopping this time when the left arm is overhead and the left leg is falling inward. And we start with just that. And breathing into your left side. You can place your right hand there as a tool for your nervous system. See if you can direct your breath into your left lung. Just letting that left leg fall in. So we're going to start already to feel that longer line through your left side, maybe a slight compression through the right side. But as we take this into the banana asana, that will be a lot more apparent, the lengthening through the left side and the compression through the right. So you can start to take that left leg long and then walk it over to the right side of the mat, and then take your left arm and walk it to the right side of the mat. And I'm trying to, as best I can, keep my left side body on the ground, but we're going to let it fall. Your right leg can stay just as it is with the kneecap pointing up towards the sky. You can lengthen it. It can be next to the right or left leg, or on top of it, or underneath it. See what works for you. Or what I did last time was bending the knee and dropping the knee open. If you're doing that and you want some support, you can put a block. I always knock these things away from me too far. Put a block underneath your right knee. So we don't want to be in a position where we're straining. We want to create space, just a safe container for breathing. So you might consider grabbing your left wrist with your right hand, just a sort of traction, not so much pull the arm, but traction the rib cage, the upper left rib cage over to the right side of the mat. And then let go. Release the muscles onto the bones. Land yourself into the ground. So find that space that you want to just hang out with yourself. Notice the compression in the right side. And then feel that tension or that spaciousness in the left side. And see if you can direct your awareness and maybe even your physical breath into your left lung. Not forcing it. If the hand is helpful, you can place the right hand there. Nice, slow, full breath in. You might even pause at the top of the inhale and a complete breath out. And if you're not sure if you're getting it, you think, I can't tell a difference, am I breathing to the left side or the right side? Go ahead and breathe into your right lung. See what happens if you try to direct your breath into your right lung. Can you sense that compression, that you're running into a boundary, right? A barrier of compression. And then go back into that left side where you've created spaciousness for the ribs to move. And breathe into that space all the way from the armpit to the hip. As you breathe out, just allow the back of the left hip, the ribs,
the waist and the shoulder to fall to the ground. So we're creating the spaciousness by breathing into the ribs. We feel the muscles move and stretch. Feel the ribs slightly part. But also creating space by letting the left side continue to just land into the ground as you breathe out. Your mind can compare. Feel the right side, feel the left side. Then I'll go into that quiet space of stillness and do your best to stay aware of the left side. It doesn't have to be only the lung. It can be the lung, but it might be all the way from the toes. Feel the left toes all the way to the left fingers, that whole left side. Can you sense the front, the side, and the back of the left lung moving? And sometimes we sense the movement on the inhale. Sometimes it's more apparent on the exhale. Either way, it's happening. Maybe noticing the space from the top of your hip to the bottoms of your ribs, or the bottoms of your ribs all the way to your arm. Taking your last few breaths. And coming out, do so one limb at a time. Maybe feel your left hand and arm, wiggle your fingers, slide that down first. You can slide your left leg in, bend your knee first to walk it back to the center, because that's a big hip stretch too. Take a moment at your center. I'm going to flip over so you can see me. But you can stay right there on your back. Get all my goodies. So you'll be on your right side body this time. When you're ready, just roll over. You can use your right arm as a pillow or put something else underneath you. We'll do the movement first, the somatic movement. Let your head relax, neck in a neutral position if possible, so not up here. And then just let your legs stack wherever it's comfortable for your hips. Feel your left hand, palm facing down initially. As you breathe in, you're going to reach that left arm overhead, and notice the difference between just reaching the arm and then taking it down. So we can just flap our wing. Feels good for the arm, right? It's a nice mobility thing for the shoulder. But then what if we lift our arm from our left rib cage? So as you inhale, lift the left rib cage up towards the sky as the arm extends. And lift the right rib cage up. Exhale, let the ribs fall back into the ground. Just let them land. Inhale, lifting up and lengthening from the hip to the armpit. Exhale, landing down. So you can almost even do it, sometimes I do it without the arm, to notice. This is my torso stretching all of the muscles of respiration, or a lot of them, and exhaling down. So the arm doesn't even have to be part of it. Just might feel good. And if it does feel good and you also want to add the leg in, then you can reach your leg as you lift your ribs and your arm. Exhale, let it just fall and relax. Back to that space of grace. Inhale, lengthen. Think of lifting the right ribs up towards the sky. Draw the shoulder away from the hip and the hip away from the shoulder. And exhale, let the hip and shoulder just slide towards one another. Happens naturally. Inhale, lifting up, lengthening through the left side, compressing the right side. Exhale, let go. Remember that too. You can feel it from the lengthening. You can also feel it from the compression on the bottom side. And now let's see if we can make this a little more subtle, more about the breath. So if the body's been lifting and forcing the rib cage up, feel the floatiness of your left lung. And as you breathe in, slowly initiate that lift from your breath. Lift and float the left lung up. And then float it back down, just like a balloon emptying and filling. You'll notice I don't usually, because I'm focusing more on respiration and lungs, I'm not doing the leg. It's up to you though. I could also not do the arm. If there's any strain in the arm, I can just inhale. Float the ribs up. Exhale, float them down. Or think of creating more space from the hip to the shoulder with the breath, lifting it, and exhale. Hip and shoulder just sort of come back like they're going to try to hug each other, kiss each other. Just a few more here in movement. And then we'll take this one into our yin hold. So finding what's appropriate for you on that bottom side. Again, the blocks are a lot firmer, so there's going to be a lot more sensation. You can use a folded blanket. If you have bolsters at home, the bolsters, that big blue bolster can be used. I don't know what you do or don't have at home. Hopefully you have your full setup by now. But blankets and pillows work great. And I am going to go for full throttle again. So if I want to be lower and just firm, I might do just the block. Feel that compression through my right side and the expansion through the left. I like the feeling of being higher, but a little bit of cushy. So I usually put something soft on top of the block. But find that whatever is going to work for you, and not all the way up into the armpit, not way down by the waist, but feel where your rib cage is. Everybody's going to be a little different because we all have different lengths of torsos. Some of us, me, have extra ribs. Isn't that crazy? We don't all have the same number of ribs. So then you're going to rest your head, let your head fall down or support it in any way you need to. If you want to bring a block or something in to support the head, do that. Your arm could obviously stay at your side, your left arm, or you can reach it to create more space. And if there's strain, take that left hand. You can put a block between the hands. This is a nice way to do it. You can bend your elbow. Option to extend your legs. If that adds to what I look at is, for me, the extended leg feels great to stretch my hip flexors, the front of my thigh, but it doesn't necessarily create more space for me to breathe. This is really more space for me to breathe, and that's the focus today, so I'm just letting my legs stack. And letting the right hip fall into the ground and the right shoulder, but feeling the compression through the right ribs, and then feel the spaciousness through the left ribs. And enjoying that spaciousness with your breath. There's this sweetness, this savoriness to your breath, just coming in and out of the left lung. It's just exploring all of that space that you've created in this posture. You can soften the shoulder joints and the arms. Anytime you need to re-land, do that. Or locate, feel what parts of your body are touching the ground. You're always supported. Muscles relax. And feel your bones. And right now that includes your rib bones. Notice the way the ribs wrap around the backside and come into your spine. Can you feel your spine moving with your breath? You can find the more subtle qualities of the breath, the movement patterns of the breath, in and out, up and down. You can even take it into a natural, spontaneous breath, because the posture alone will create more space through the left side. Or focus on your organs in your left side. Your spleen, send some light into your spleen. Your heart's in the left side. The left little lung, as I call it. But still almost the size of a loaf of bread. And just enjoy for another minute, breathing into your left side. When you're ready to come out, make sure you go the one limb at a time approach. You can use that top left arm or use your bottom right arm to lift up onto. Remove whatever was underneath you. Because we focused on lungs, I'm going to encourage you, unless you're completely uncomfortable, to do a short savasana on your front side. Because what this is going to do is it's going to give us a little more opening in the front of the lungs. We're going to come into crocodile or makrasana. So just a very small, gentle, generous back bend. So you can come down. In fact, if you want to put something underneath your chest, if you've got a pillow there, you can do that. Otherwise, you can use your arms, shake out your legs or shift your hips. Just creating a slight lift of the chest and lungs. Without compressing the backside too much. Soften the low back, maybe even gently let your tailbone fall down towards the floor, lengthening the lumbar spine. You can take a few breaths into the shoulder blade area, the backs of the lungs, so now we can feel that area moving. But also feel the fronts of the lungs. You'll sense if you land yourself in the fronts of your lungs, locate that area, and notice the movement, how the lungs are gently moving on the floor. So allow yourself to be in this position for another minute or so, and then if you want to come onto your back to finish your shavasana or come into a seated meditation position, either one of those would be just fine. But I do encourage you to do that. I mentioned in the beginning that in the subtle body, the energy body, the lungs are where we hold grief and sadness. You can even notice that through things like when we cry, our lungs spasm. They're very interrelated with our emotional health. So you can take this opportunity and ask yourself, is there something that is creating sadness that you might feel in the tissues of your body? Is there something or someone you're grieving? Just feeling yourself move those emotions through your breath. So the process of observation first, feeling your breath come in and out, delivering a gift each time it comes in, purifying you each time it comes out. And the gift is just the remembering that every breath is a reminder of life.
every breath in, that we're here and we're here for a reason. And the gift of letting go as you breathe out. I hope you've enjoyed this practice, this intimacy with your lungs, getting to know your lungs. When you come up, or if you come up anytime soon, you can even take your hands to your ribs again and just see, how does it feel now to breathe into the whole cylinder? Even if there's not what seems like more movement, is there more awareness, more gratitude for the movement that's created from our breath? Just the respiratory movement that happens even when we don't control it, when we're not manipulating it. Thanks for joining me today. Keep breathing, keep watching your breath. Your breath has so much to tell you. Peace, joy, love, and light.